Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV today. Week number 4 of the Wednesday Night War is in the books. And Wednesday night this week, you had to be proud to be a wrestling fan. It felt good once again to sit down and watch wrestling, and we got 4 hours of wrestling that was absolutely fantastic. For the first time since this whole thing kicked off, both AEW and NXT gave us some high-quality shows filled with fantastic action and great storytelling, progressing things forward, getting us excited to tune in next week, and it's, for the first time for us, a very, very difficult thing to do, to compare the two, but we are going to do that, and we're going to do it together right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Wednesday Night War head-to-head breakdown for week number 4. It's going to be a tough one. So let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Man, thank the wrestling gods for Wednesday nights. Ever since this began, this was the type of stuff I was hoping we were going to get on a weekly basis. If you watched AEW and you are one of my fans that in my comments section said that AEW was a perfect show, I really would like to know what you thought of NXT, because I thought these shows were equal. They were equal, but we are here not to tell you just how good they are. We are here to get a little bit deeper into it and figure out which one of these two shows was better. And I'm not going to be, taking AEW fans, side of things and just, be an AEW mark, nor am I going to be a mark for NXT and all things WWE. I'm going to be as absolutely fair as I possibly can, and this is a tough one. This is a really tough one. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about these two shows head-to-head. They both opened up with great opening matchups. AEW had the first of 2 semi-final matchups in the AEW Tag Team Championship Tournament. The Lucha Brothers defeating Private Party and moving on into the finals. Then they were opposed by NXT's opening matchup, which was a fantastic women's division matchup. Rhea Ripley defeating Bianca Belair. We also had the involvement of Io Shirai and Candice LeRae, telling the stories that need to be told in the matchup. Everything is moving forward and progressing in a right manner. But if you had to go head-to-head, you can't tell me that the Ripley-Belair match was more exciting and more intense than the opening round of the opening match of the semifinal round. I'm trying to take my personal considerations and not really play into all of the things we already discussed about, the no-selling and whatnot that kind of gets to me. But just head-to-head, man, the AEW show had a much hotter, much better opening. As far as the rest of the show goes, we got the second semifinal round came right after that first one, which I don't know why they do that, and they just go bang, bang, and I think they would have liked to move that, further down the card, so you're excited to see the second round matchup and not just burn them out 1 and 2. That's a minor criticism, but we had SCU defeating the Dark Order. I was happy with the winner. I'm not a big fan of the Dark Order tag team because I just don't get them. But SCU moving on into the finals to face the Lucha Brothers next week on AEW is going to be great. It's going to be great. The only thing I could take points away for is the slightly predictable nature of what went down here due to the angle that they decided to play between the Lucha Brothers and SCU. So you kind of knew that this is where they were going to go. You kind of feel like SCU is going to get their comeuppance and do it for Christopher Daniels, and SCU might actually win the whole thing, which will be fine, but we'll save that for next week. The second match on NXT opposing this match was Matt Riddle defeating Cameron Grimes. This match was surprisingly awesome. For the first time ever, I found myself invested and involved in a Cameron Grimes matchup. Matt Riddle continues to impress me in the ring on a weekly basis even more and more. He was a little bit repetitive with his kicking and his knee strikes, but that's, just the minor criticisms there. We had the involvement of Tyler Bate attacking Cameron Grimes after Cameron Grimes wanted to bark in his face a little bit after the matchup, setting up a match for next week, which I like to see. They're not just giving us randomly put together matchups, they're giving us reasons for these matches to exist, and you have to take that into consideration. The one thing about the tag team matchup on AEW, the SCU versus Dark Order match, that I can really take points away for was the interruption during this matchup by the Inner Circle, making their way to the luxury box. This was not the time for that, and we will get a little bit more into that later on into the show, but I really did not like the timing. It's not about what they did, it's about when they did it, and it was just not the right time to do that. Taking the focus away from that tag team matchup was just a wrong move, and somebody should have stood up and been like, maybe we should do this later, but we'll delve more into that as we go along. On AEW, we had a fantastic singles matchup between Kenny Omega and Joey Janela. Joey Janela is another one on the list that you guys have heard me complain about. I'm not really that into Joey Janela. I think he's a carbon copy of everybody else, and he doesn't stand out. But here on this night, he stood out. He put out a great performance against Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega's criticism by me is the same as I just said of Matt Riddle. Repetitive knee strikes, multiple V-triggers, a lot of the same maneuvers over and over. That's my one criticism of Kenny Omega. But aside from that, this was a great match between these two guys, and I really enjoyed this match as well. On NXT, here's where NXT maybe kind of takes a little bit of a hit, the six-man tag. First of all, it's a six-man tag. I don't like seeing six-man tags anymore, and they're kind of unnecessary in this format. You had Swerve Scott teaming up with Breezango, and these guys defeated the Forgotten Sons. And I've already forgotten about the matchup. It was a pretty standard six-man tag. There was nothing really bad about it. Breezango was entertaining. The Forgotten Sons, you know, they do what they do, but it was just a six-man tag. So, you know, nothing really all that special. On the other side of things, back at AEW, we had the Cody Rhodes interview, which went awry and turned into a 4-on-4 brawl. I've already given you guys my criticisms about the team that Cody Rhodes has and the timing of the interruption by the Inner Circle, which were the only things about this thing that I wasn't really happy with. I love that Dustin Rhodes is standing by his brother. I don't know why they couldn't have brought somebody better than DDP. I understand the family connections and everything, you guys. Calm down. And I don't want to hear that they blur the lines between heel and face. You can't blur the lines on heel and face with MJF. The guy is just great. They're doing the wrong thing. It's not that they can't. It's just that they probably shouldn't be doing this yet. Allow the fans to grow to hate him before you start to do this weird sympathy thing. It would make it more impactful, but that's another story for another day. On NXT, we had a great promotional package for Tommaso Ciampa. We also seen Killian Dane wrapping up his fingers over an open fire, and Pete Dunne talking about how he needs to step up his game, and he also don't give a shit about Killian Dane and everything going on with there. So pretty equal, I would say, because the Ciampa promo was absolutely fantastic. The 4-on-4 brawl really brought this thing to another level, but it was kind of hard to follow the AEW brawl because the camera work was a little shoddy. They were all over the place. It was hard to really see what was going on. There was a few very interesting moments. Chris Jericho shouting, "This is what happens!" And then you also seen Santana, you know, messing with the cops, saying, "Why aren't you helping us out, man? What is going on?" It was cool, and it was also spotty. So I would give this edge to AEW just based off of the brawl. But I really enjoyed the Ciampa promo. Everything outside of the other promos were pretty standard. We saw the Wardlow promo in AEW, and it was all okay. Getting back to the matchups, we had a tag team match on AEW. The Young Bucks defeated the Best Friends. I thought this was an unnecessary matchup, as we already had two great tag team matchups on the night. And on NXT, we had Hector, oh my god, forgive me, Angel Garza, that's his dad. Angel Garza defeating Jack Gallagher, which I also thought was an unnecessary matchup. It was entertaining. Garza is great. He's going to be a future champion. Gallagher is also fantastic. And I know I say his names correctly sometimes and incorrectly at other times, but this match could have been done, you know, at a house show or, you know, on a dark match or something. It really just kind of took away time from some of the other more important matches that were going on. And they could have added time to other things. So that's a little slight to NXT as well. Things pick up again as we get to some women's division stuff. We had Britt Baker defeating Jamie Hayter, making her debut in AEW, going up against the Doctor of Medical Dentistry, or however it's said. And Britt Baker was impressive here. I really enjoyed this matchup. I thought she actually was better in this match than she was in her match last week against the champion. First time she's really popped off the screen to me. Some of you guys might not be fans of Britt Baker just yet, but give her a chance. She's going to grow on you. Jamie Hayter made her first appearance here. She was okay. In a loss, she didn't look too bad, and they're probably going to push her later on. She had an interview segment where she got her face mashed in by Brandy Rhodes after this matchup, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with her from there. On the NXT side of things, we had Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox defeating Marina Shafir and Jessamyn Duke for the #1 contendership to the Kabuki Warriors Women's Tag Team Championships, and this match will be taking place next week on NXT, setting things up for the future. My big criticism here was both of these teams do not deserve to be having #1 contenders matches. Tegan and Nox, I don't think they've had a tag team match on NXT ever. They just came together for this matchup. They were just reunited last week after Tegan Nox's debut. And Jessamyn Duke and Marina Shafir probably shouldn't be stepping foot in the ring just yet. They just seem kind of sloppy, kind of not ready for the moment, and even though they're associated with Shayna Baszler, having them get even an opportunity to get a championship matchup just seems unnecessary and seems unwarranted and undeserved. But that doesn't even matter because they ended up losing anyway, and rightfully so. This matchup was a little bit too short, but it does set up for a pretty interesting matchup. It's not that Kai and Nox deserve the shot of the champions, but going up against Asuka and Kairi, that's something I definitely want to see. These 4 girls are going to tear it up, and it's going to be great to see next week. The main events of both shows is where everything just gets blown out of the water. Even AEW, they put on a great main event between Pac and Moxley. I was heavily critical of this last week just because they booked it. I was afraid they were going to give somebody the win, but they did the right thing and they went to the time limit draw, and it's only going to increase interest. It's got everybody excited for what's to come in the future. Pac and Moxley are going to eventually try to kill each other at some point. It's going to boil and come to a head at some point, and it's going to be fantastic. This was a great first step. They made the right call. So I have to, eat my hat on my words. I said this was a bad move, and I really thought they were going to just have Moxley go over on Pac and maybe put Pac on a losing streak or do something WWE-like. But they didn't. They used the time limit, which is a great art in professional wrestling, to extend a feud so that nobody has to go down in defeat. And it was a great way to end AEW this week. Got everybody hype. It was fantastic. Not nearly as fantastic as the main event on NXT. If you say otherwise, you are lying to yourself, or you didn't actually watch the North American Championship Triple Threat match and you're just being a dick about it. Let's be honest. There was nothing that happened on this night that was as intense, as dramatic, and just unbelievably entertaining as that Triple Threat match. It was something to behold. Roderick Strong earns major points for living up to his name. His last name is Strong, and he proved to be just that. He was the littlest dog in the fight, but he had the biggest fight in his heart, and he did not want to go down, and he strategically found a way to remain champion and just let the 2 monstrous behemoths, Dijakovic and Keith Lee, just tear each other apart. And hats off to both of them. This is another brilliant move in the same vein of what we just talked about with Pac and Moxley. We've seen Keith Lee and Dijakovic. This is maybe the 5th time now they've been in the ring together, but each time they step it up a little bit. There have been now 2 times in this, or 3 times rather, in this series between them that there has been no winner. They both have 1 win against each other, and then each match that has followed has not have a definitive conclusion. I thought that was going to be the case tonight, but they would still have the caveat, and I thought maybe Keith Lee or Dijakovic was going to pin Roderick Strong, but Roderick Strong shocks the world. He was thought to be a non-entity on the outside. The 2 bigger men apparently killed him. It was great. And some of the spots they did were just superhuman. You're not supposed to be that strong. A guy like Keith Lee is not supposed to move like that. Do you realize that he, by himself, held 2 full-bodied human males on his shoulders for a good 3 to 5 seconds? I want to see anybody else do that. It was like watching the Incredible Hulk helping out 2 of the Avengers. or trying to destroy two of them. It was a match to behold. You don't say it was something to behold if it wasn't something special. This match was special, and it was made even better by how we went off the air with the Undisputed Era coming out to celebrate this tremendous victory over this awesome matchup, which had a nice amount of time and it had a big fight main event feel, and they came out to celebrate. They were confronted by Ciampa and Gargano, who were then followed by Finn Balor, who would shock the world, Pele kick Johnny Wrestling in the face, and start something that nobody saw coming. Finn Balor turns to the dark side. He's got his sights set on Johnny Gargano, and the Undisputed Era continued their attack on Tommaso Ciampa. Is Finn Balor part of the Undisputed? I don't know yet. We have to tune in to find out. He's going to have a special interview following SmackDown Live tomorrow night. I'm sorry, Friday Night SmackDown tomorrow night. On the new WWE Backstage show, right on FS1. So if SmackDown Live's a little late tomorrow night, you know why. I keep saying SmackDown Live. God, I gotta stop that. Yeah, we're not here to even talk about that. But Finn Balor, and that shocking turn at the end, coupled with the main event, you can't tell me that AEW was better. You can't. You have to be honest with yourself. And if you're saying otherwise, go back and rewatch the show without your AEW glasses on and come back and tell me the same thing, because you won't be able to. There is nothing on the AEW card that was better than that triple threat match. So let's get talking about some of the awards that we like to consider, that we like to give out, and let's talk about the match of the night, since you obviously already know what I'm going to pick. I gave you guys the spoiler pretty much as I oversold that main event, but it deserves it. Some of the considerations. I'm not just talking out of my ass. I have it written right here because we went through this card fully. And some of the considerations given for match of the night. Matt Riddle and Cameron Grimes. You can't be a jerk-off that I hate one week and then pull off a fantastic match that has me just super excited and not be considered for putting on match of the night. It was one of the best matches of the evening. Pac and Moxley from AEW, they were definitely in consideration. That was a highly entertaining matchup, and it made Moxley look like the wrestler of old, not just a hardcore jerk-off, and Pac can get a great match out of anybody. I really enjoyed it. Omega versus Janela, like I said, same thing holds true. If I say it about Cameron Grimes, I have to say it about Joey Janela. I'm not a fan of Joey Janela, and he got me invested in his match with Omega. It was that good, so you have to consider that. You have to consider these matches for best match of the night, but there is no way any of those matches were better than this triple threat match. It was just too much. It was just too much. It's easily a match of the year contender on any brand. Fight me on it if you want to. You won't be able to win. It's absolutely crazy. But let's shift gears now to the breakout superstar of the evening. Breakout nominees include both Rhea Ripley and Britt Baker. I thought both of these girls, just in their presentation of themselves on their respective shows, really shined bright tonight. I thought they were great. So you have to consider that breaking out. Beating somebody like Bianca Belair for Rhea Ripley is something to, something to put a notch on your belt about. Something to talk about. Something to start building a run on. Britt Baker getting a very easy win, I would guess, over a newly debuting Jamie Hayter was just as impressive. So they were definitely in consideration. Joey Janela, as we just talked about, considered for breaking out because he was breaking out of that box that I was putting him in of just being a chump. But the winner, hands down, has to be Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes is our breakout star of week number 4. This guy was the first ever recipient of the Poop Hammer. And 2 weeks later, he had me on the edge of my seat in a match against another guy that I'm not really wild and crazy about. That's got to mean something, right? So he's got to get the breakout star of the week. Talk about breaking out of the box. 2 weeks in a row, or 3 weeks, however long it's been, I have been burying this guy on this channel. And then he comes out there and makes me eat my words, and I'm proud of him for it. Still not a fan of the whole, I look like a fucking weasel possum with a top hat on thing, but everybody's got a look and it's going to make him stand out. And if he continues to put on matches like this, he could come out wearing a clown outfit and dress himself up like Seth Rollins. And I don't really care. Seth Rollins blocked me on Twitter, by the way, for those of you who don't know. And I take that as a badge of honor. If you can't accept a little criticism, then you're a jerk. Alright? That's that. So, the breakout star, like we said, was Cameron Grimes. Now we're going to move to the Poop Hammer. And you guys are going to kill me on this again, because you know what I already said on the AEW review. I gave out the Poop Hammer, not the Poop Hammer. The official Poop Hammer is given out on this show every single week. And the problem here is there are not really many contenders. There is not a lot of things to poop on with this show. Maybe the unnecessary matchup between Garza and Gallagher, just for existing, but who gets the hammer? It's neither one of these guys' fault. Same for the Bucks and the Best Friends. We didn't really need to see that matchup, but it was entertaining by the time all was said and done, so you can't give that the Poop Hammer. So you have to look at both shows. And when I look over both shows, there is only one moment between the 4 hours of wrestling that I watched that really upset me. So the Poop Hammer goes. I'm going to be fair, and I'm not just going to give it to Chris Jericho, so everybody asking me to stop giving it to Chris Jericho, here, I will not give it to Chris Jericho. But I am giving it to the Inner Circle. The Poop Hammer for this week goes to the entire Inner Circle. And let me reiterate why, because I already kind of told you guys in the beginning of this show. Not because of what they did. What they did was great. It was fine. It was because of when they did it. Taking the focus away from a tag team title tournament matchup, especially given the fact that it was in the middle of a big comeback spot by SCU, was completely unnecessary. It's not even like these guys were just all laid out. You know when they all do that to go to commercial sometimes and everybody gets sprawled out on the outside and they're all just laying down and dead outside the ring, and then, oh look, what's happening? There's noise. Oh look, we can look over there because there's nothing going on over here. Everybody's laid out. Let's check out what's going on over here. But that's not what happened here. They were in the middle of a comeback, which is a pivotal moment in the story of a match, and then they wanted to have the Inner Circle come out to the skybox and interrupt everything, and I just thought it was a bad choice of timing, and that's why it gets the Poop Hammer. So everybody calm down and don't crucify me for giving it back to Jericho, so to speak. It was the only moment on the night that made me shake my head. They could have did it during Cody Rhodes's interview. They could have did it right before. They could have did it during the match with the Bucks so that they could be in the skybox. They could have did it at any other time. They could have did it right at the beginning of the show. I would have rather them do that. Start the show with Jericho and his buddies in the skybox and then have them out there causing ruckus to every match on the evening until Cody gets out. It would have been annoying and I probably still would have not enjoyed it, but it would have not been so abrasively bad choice of timing, man. It was so bad. I was really upset at that. So what happens when something really upsets me during this show? You get the Poop Hammer. Sorry, guys. Sorry. You tell me who else should have got it. If you don't think that was the worst moment of the night, you drop the Poop Hammer down. Who do you think? Give me a better choice. I don't think you'll be able to find one. So now we have to talk about these shows head to head, and as you could probably tell, and it's only by a very, very slim margin, this week's winner for week number 4, based off of show quality and just off of that main event and the unexpected, shocking nature of the turn by Finn Balor, week number 4 has to go to NXT. By the slimmest of margins, so don't bust my balls. These shows, like I said in the open, were practically very, very even. The whole way through, they were equal in quality, equal in match content, equal in every way. But the main event and the turn by Balor just slightly put my enjoyment of NXT over what I felt when I was watching AEW. And it's not that I didn't enjoy AEW. 2 tremendously solid, fantastic efforts. You cannot complain about it. But if you're going to be honest with yourself, and your inner wrestling fan is true to itself, you are going to put NXT as the better show. And that's how I feel about it. If you feel differently, you are welcome to take your feelings down to the comment section below. Drop your hammers down, drop your poop hammers down, use those emojis, and let me know what you guys think went down in the Wednesday Night War. If you think I'm wrong on anything, this was the hardest show so far, because everything really, to be fair, was so goddamn good. I could barely find anything wrong in the reviews. But if you go back and watch the reviews of both shows, the one time I probably got the most intense and the most fired up and the most pissed off was for that moment with the Inner Circle. Other than that, almost flawless shows. There will never be perfect shows, people, so I don't want to hear that. Don't be putting that stuff in my comments. I am a Virgo. I am a critic by nature. I will always find something. It may be the littlest thing. You might not think the same thing, but my opinion and my frame of mind will always find something wrong. There will never be a perfect show. Not for AEW, not for NXT. There will be near perfect shows. There will always be near perfect shows, but they will never be perfect. So keep that stuff to yourself. All I want to know is which one you thought was better. And make sure you let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to join the army today. The Sledgehammer Army is growing in full force. We are over 2,000 subscribers, and we need to keep on growing to 3K and beyond, and it's going to take an awesome wrestling fan like you. If this is your first time joining us here for these head-to-head breakdowns, and you don't think I'm absolutely crazy, this would be your time to consider hitting that subscribe button and joining the coolest, newest, fastest rising faction in the entire YouTube wrestling community, where we keep it real, we keep it honest, we keep it fun, and we have a good time here at Sledgehammer TV on YouTube.com. Don't forget to smash that like button if you did in fact have a good time and you enjoyed today's shows and every show that you see. Make sure you hit that like button, and then share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they need to know everything that was absolutely great about Wednesday night, but the few tiny things we found wrong, you can show them where to find that, which is always right here, where we are the most negative channel. Get out of here with all that crap. You guys don't even know what I've been going through in the comments section. Ever since I started talking about AEW fans just are the most piss and vinegar fans ever. You can't say anything. You can't say anything, man. God forbid I talk about Chris Jericho. Look at the ratings. Look at the ratings that came out. Every week they're dropping more and more and more. Who's been the main focus of AEW? Chris Jericho. And everybody wants, oh, Chris Jericho's name value is really paying off, man. Yeah, he's bringing in millions of views. He's bringing them all in. It's all because of Jericho, right? It's got nothing to do with Cody and the Bucks and the Bullet Club and all their fans and everybody that's turning out for them. And now you got people turning away in droves. NXT as well. NXT's ratings are not reflecting what they are doing on TV, but they have been declining. They have been losing in the ratings every single week, and it continued in week 4. They lost, and their numbers went down as well. But the ratings don't matter. The ratings don't matter to us fans. I don't give a shit about the ratings. I give a shit about the quality of the show. And the ratings don't reflect anything. What I'm actually interested in seeing now, as far as the ratings is concerned, is next week's rating. Because these two shows, for both companies, were absolutely great. So word of mouth is going to get around. Did you guys watch NXT? Did you guys watch AEW? And I'm wondering to see if there's going to be a bump up due to the efforts put forth by both companies. These were equally great shows, man. But NXT just pulled ahead. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team. Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Snowball Microphone. The most important member of the team, as always, is each and every one of you. Thank you guys once again for being here. That is going to do it, and we are out of here. And we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com.